So yesterday, me and Julian were talking about how everyone can imagine a dystopia, but no one can imagine a utopia. And I said how it's weird that America is almost a happy medium between the two because you have choice, but at the same time, as a utopia slash dystopia, you're sort of railroaded towards certain choices. So but I said a true utopia would be a dystopia for those that don't share the same values, because utopia, why would you uphold utopian values and stuff if if you why would you uphold the utopian system if there's not a goal, right? So a utopia is a dystopia to those who don't share the same goal. So in that sense, you could call the United States a utopia. It's just most people don't share the goal, except for the Luciferian, pro-transhumanist elites. But still, that begs the question, okay, that's a bit extreme, but even if a utopia was optimized towards the goal of more people, which my thought is, well, more ordinary people, that their goals should be, considered. But if the common people's goals are considered, then wouldn't that mean you're just doing nothing? Like, wouldn't the utopia of the common people be like an anarcho-libertarian scenario? Maybe that would be perfect. Maybe that would be a disaster. I don't know. Perhaps then there could be an anarcho-libertarian, because in the past you had villages that basically were that you could consider being that, basically. But like cities then should be ruled in the utopia, because to have a city, the city must share a goal. Yeah, so having some kind of anarcho-libertarian scenario, and then or sort of left-wing libertarian or something. I think this was actually my interest in anarchism, is that I like the way Rojava is doing it, which is of course based on the city-states of Sumeria. It's based on the Anunnaki. Apparently, Ogazon even says that, and he's a British spy. So it's like, well, according to my Turkish friend, he's a British spy. Anyways, as questionable as it might be as far as what the actual political alliances behind these things are, I think it's cool, and I'm glad they're trying it, even though also according to my Turkish friend, the Rojava people are mostly just inbred terrorists, which of course could be a politically charged take from her as well. I don't know. I'm not there, so I don't want to be in the middle of it, even intellectually. Still, I think even sometimes when we have systems that are questionable, or the intention behind it's questionable, different facets of it are questionable. Even talking about it being overlapping with some terrorism against basically Turkey. I think there's still some. It's still interesting. You know what I mean? So I guess my question is, how can one create a utopia that sort of makes everyone happy? Is it like having the polis be? Is it having the polis have more of a focused utopia, kind of like how Sparta was very focused? Although Sparta was focused, even the villagers, as far as I understand, were into this crazy, basically Plato Atlantean utopia situation. So Sparta, as far as I can tell, was actually a utopia. But from our perspective, it was a dystopia, because we're like, what, leaving children to die? But this sorts out the weak. The function that they decided that they wanted was served, and I don't think, it doesn't make sense to me for us to, we don't get to say that, oh, that's wrong, because, We just don't have the same function. We don't have the same desire. For them, if everyone's happy in the society, but they're doing some things that are like pretty much I mean, I think that would be considered a human rights violation in the modern day. But they were doing what they wanted, and Sparta is actually, first of all, its mythology, the mythology of its creation, being descended from Heracles, which I believe is the mythological Heracles. And then, yeah, basically living like a little bit more of a militarized Saturnine version of the Atlantis talked about in Critias and Timaeus, the ideal civilization talked about therein, which my spirits have told me about plenty of times, that they want to see this. Yeah, I don't know if it meant if in Atlantis or in the ideal civilization of Plato that they meant that yeah, we should leave children out to die. I think that's more of a militarized Spartan thing, but reminds me of Halo too. Thinking about Spartans, very very intentional. And I think it's a little bit of a hint that the elites kind of want this system. I mean, not this system of the Spartans, but the Spartans are a good explanation of the utopia that they're sort of dreaming of. It's a picture of something, you know what I mean? That being said, I think the Halo, actually speaking of the Halo games, it's almost a picture of the militarized techno-future, transhumanist future that they're dreaming of. USA is very Martian, but it's fortunate that USA is declining in power, and that yeah, it's I don't think I think the world's going more towards peace. It's becoming okay. Mercury, there's some Mercury to it, but more than that, I'm going to say it's Venus. It's going towards Venus. It's going towards information. It's going towards knowledge, enlightenment. Which it makes sense that an increase in Venus is also an increase in Mercury, because Venus is the guru of Mercury. Also, a recommended sort of correction. Men should be understood as Mercury, not Mars, and then women, Venus, are the teachers of men, Mercury. But Mars will not be taught by Venus. Mars, there's some rivalry even, and this creates rivalry in the relationships because men relate themselves to Mars. But really, this is a system of connection. Men can relate themselves to Jupiter as well as they do in India sometimes. You know, so there's different systems that can be made. If the man connects himself to Jupiter in the relationship with the woman, then and that becomes the understanding that even is in the deep consciousness, because simply knowing something is not going to change it. It has to be deep. Perhaps I should design a ritual for this, because a ritual can change the subconscious. I don't know if it's just some religious thinking, because what magic does is eventually you become more you will unite the subconscious, the superconscious, and the regular conscious. The conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious are all start to be weaved together, and you become your higher self, your lower self. Everything's integrated. You become a fully integrated person who is capable of programming themselves. It may be that everyone is like this naturally, but the state creates a predictable psychotic break in which people are easy to program. Yeah. Huh. Wow. Anyways, yeah, Jupiter, it'll create a lot of equality between man and woman. One will not exactly be a teacher of the other, but here also I think there's a slight rivalry, but the rivalry here is more friendly. I think Mars and Venus is not such a friendly rivalry; it's an intense rivalry, and it also it seems to be that because all the planets have a partner, Mars' partner is gone. Mars' partner was Janos. Janos is gone. Janos was intense in a different way, and so it worked. But Mars-Venus doesn't really work. So the destruction of Janos was actually almost perfectly imbalanced the universe, I think. But this proposed planet of Janos or Maldek. I prefer the term Janos, but I think the lore around quote-unquote Maldek is just that I don't appreciate it that much. Yeah. See, this is what the conversation about Utopia invokes. It invokes this massive conversation about what is good, what is true, what is, what is the paradigm, what is the template of human consciousness. Because Plato's ideal society, and spoken of in Critias and Timaeus, or Timaeus and Critias, sorry. My bad. It's a society, as the spirits have told me, that is designed to elevate human consciousness, and that's why it's only happened in Atlantis, because Atlantis was populated mostly by, aliens, and I want to say metahumans. That's what's coming through to me, that humans as we know them today are more connected to their gross material nature. So the Interchristos people speak of the fall from Tara, so from Tara to Earth, so that we're trying to upgrade ourselves back into a more ethereal consciousness. We'll still be matter, but it'll be like ethereal matter. It'll be like I forget what he called this. It was like we'll be more crystalline, which I think rings true a little bit. But of course, I'm bringing this up. I think I'm bringing this up a little more comfortably since knowing that the whole thing seems to be a CI psyops, because I want to consider what may or may not be true in it, and it's hard to tell. But I think, yeah, I wouldn't take this part seriously, but I think the gem here, the hidden truth, is that the people were more advanced, more ascended, in perhaps a more subtle way. I'm almost getting that people were like when we have shows about mutants and stuff, it was like that. And that the gods want to elevate people to such. Oh, that gives me that gives me some ideas for one story concept I'm working on. Oh, excellent. This is why I do it. There's so many, like just in the things I've said here alone, there's compacted into it so much material for me to know. Yeah, another question I had was, can I, so the civilization now is a little bit meant to damage you. Yeah, the system now is designed so it's harmful to be successful, and so it's like, or it's sort of unnatural. So it's like you have to grapple with everything and, I don't know, come to some kind of conclusion. I think that yeah, anyways, I suppose if society was more based on, like some kind of really truly meaningful acumen, like I feel much of the time, I remember in previous lives being like something of a warrior. I remember getting into fights with swords or whatever and killing people. I remember that, you know what I mean? And I feel like if that mattered, if that was the medium of combat in this lifetime, that I would have such skills, but it's not. It's all mental now. I think humanity is a little bit like not really used to it. And that causes problems for a lot of people, but I've made my peace with it, you know what I mean? But it took some time, but I think naturally I don't really care, because such barbaric, it's not really barbaric. I mean, a lot of races love killing each other, like Pleiadians love killing each other, not each other so much, but these civilizations aren't as peace loving as the New Age movement makes out. Sometimes they war with each other for entertainment, I mean, you have to think about groups that understand that the body is just a machine, and even their bodies are just machines that the soul is operating. Not so. It's not so incidental, I guess. But still, death isn't the end, basically. So, you know, that they actually have less resistance towards like going to war and things, but the way that we do it here is pretty much disgusting to most of these people, because war is supposed to be like a sport, and the fact that the body is destroyed from it is almost like that's almost part of the it's almost why people like it. Oh, there's risk to it, you know, and then in the next lifetime, yeah. So I know, actually I'm getting this that I think I've seen this before, that in some star civilizations, if you're badly injured, like if you lose an arm, they'll just kill you so that you can be reincarnated and have your arm back, because without, you know, even if it takes 1,000 years to mature to adulthood for some of these races, okay, it's never going to be, typically not that long, but that's not that much time for them.